to Boots and Bounty Homestead in Casey's Kitchen. This is part 3 of a one batch of apples video series, I guess you could say. There's 3 parts. We're doing 3 different recipes with one batch of apples. The first one being the apple juice, which was the hardest, getting all this started, getting them peeled and cored and all that stuff. The second one was the apple butter. And the third one is going to be apple cider vinegar. Now once we get through, we have absolutely no waste whatsoever, because we pressured the apples, let them strain, got the apple juice. Then from there, we used the pulp that was left to run through a food mill. We got all of the apple goodness out, and what was left was the peelings. Now when we were doing the apple juice, I kept all of the cores and I put them in a bowl of water just to keep them fresh so they wouldn't turn brown or dry out or anything. And then once we got through straining the apple pulp and making the apple butter, I have what's left here. So this is the peelings and the apple pulp that did not get strained out through the food mill, and our apple cores. And this is what we're going to turn into apple cider vinegar. There is a no waste in this batch of apples. So what we're going to do is, I have a gallon, just a recycled pickle jar that I actually got donated to me from one of our school systems, one of our schools. This isn't one of their pickle jars. So instead of them throwing them away, I asked them if I could have them, because this is what I water glass eggs in and do any of my dry herbs or, you know, vinegars and stuff like this. This is what I use, and so I have a lot of these. But we are going to fill this up about 3/4 of the way with what we have left over. And if I have a little left over, I'll just make a smaller jar. And so we're going to get started doing that real quick. So we're just going to take our cores and go ahead and pop them in here. Doesn't matter what color or anything that they are, because they're going to sit here for a few weeks anyways. Let's see how far we can get. Maybe I would do 1 gallon. I'm going to do a small jar, because I still got to put some pulp in here. Okay. And then I'm going to take probably 2/3 of this pulp and the peelings and all that out. And once this ferments, this is actually going to sit for about 4 to 6 weeks. And once this ferments, all of the bits from the apple cores and from the pulp that's left over and the peelings, what's left is what's called in the mother, or with the mother. That is the mother that will be fermented, and that'll be where all your probiotics and stuff, the bacteria, is coming from, out of our fermented, because apple cider vinegar with the mother is actually fermented apple peelings and stuff. So that's what we're going to make. Do a little more of this. Alright. Now, this is the easiest recipe of this 3-part series. So now we need to measure out how much water it'll take to fill up to right to the bottom of this neck. And how many of our cups we use, that's how many tablespoons of sugar we're going to put in here, because we do have to feed our fermented apples and water. That, you know, the bacteria is what's going to eat the sugar, and that's what's going to turn into the fermentation. So if you want to learn more about that, you'll have to, you know, do a lot of research on fermented foods and how all that works, such as my slimy pancake over here, my kombucha. That'll be in another series that I'll be doing later. But this is just simple to get some apple cider vinegar that's healthy for you. So let's measure out some water. I have an 8-cup measuring cup. I'm going to fill that up, and we'll see how much of that we use, and then we'll be able to put the sugar in here. And make sure whatever jar you're using has a top, because you do need to shake it up. Alright, so I've got my water here. And it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold, because this is going to stay room temperature because it's going to have to sit out. So let's go ahead and see how much water this is going to take. If I don't spill it everywhere. Okay, we're going to say it's going to take 8 cups. Now, what we want to do is kind of shake it just a little bit to make sure we got all the air bubbles out. So we've got 8 cups of water, and now we need to go get 8 tablespoons of sugar and put in here. Alright guys, I went in there and measured out 8 tablespoons of sugar and just put it in this bowl. So now all we need to do, put it in here. And we're going to put the top on, just for this part, okay? We're going to put the top on very firmly, hang on to it, and shake it up. We're not trying to really dissolve the sugar, but we've got to get it mixed up. Got to get it mixed up very well. Okay, now, if you fly, don't bother me. Alright, now from here, let me shake it up again, there's a bunch of sugar in here. If you have a fermentation kit or fermenting kit that has either a burping lid, like a mason top burping lid, a fermenting lid or something like that, that goes on either a regular or a wide mouth jar, go ahead and use that. Or you may have the little springs where you hold it down or whatever, or maybe some pebbles. Sometimes they'll have like the clear glass pebbles. And for this jar, I don't have anything that's going to fit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go old school. I'm going to get a sandwich bag and fill it up with water and lay it on top. What that's going to do is ensure that it's going to ensure that we keep the apples and the goodies and the bits and everything underneath the water, because if there's anything sticking up, that's what's going to mold. So we've got to keep everything underwater and to make sure that it's going to ferment. Alright guys, so here I have just a little baggie of water. I have a blue one just because that's what I pulled out. And I got all the air out of it that I could. So all I'm going to do is, this is going to kind of lay on its side. And I'm just going to lay it on top. And it will kind of conform to the jar. And push it down just a little bit where you start seeing the liquid to come up around the top. Let me show you. Alright, so here is my jar. Let's make it a little bit. Okay. So here we've got the bag of water that's sitting on top. And you can see right here, there's bubbles. And that means that the apples and the water bacteria is already starting to eat that sugar. So this was actually hungry. It was hungry for sugar. But we're pushing down the bag of water down just a little bit to where you start seeing the bubbles and the water come up around it. Not on top of it. You don't want this underwater. You just want it to push the apples and goodies down. If you see any bits like this come up, either take them out or push them back down in the water, okay? Because you don't want anything exposed. So let's kind of change that to where it doesn't have that little crinkle. There we go. Now, everything is underwater. And we're going to put our top on. And the top has some bits on it, so let me wipe that off real quick. Alright. And I'm just going to barely turn this to where it sits on there. Like, I can pull that off, so I'm just going to barely turn it to where I can't. Like that right there. Now, If you have the fermentation tops that have like the little burp hole, you want to go ahead and put those on tight, and it will release the air. You don't want to put this one on tight. You may even want to put like some muslin or a tea towel or something underneath here and just barely attach the lid to where it holds it in place, because the fermentation is going to start releasing gas, and that's going to need to escape. If your jar is not able to allow the air to escape as it's created over the next 4 to 6 weeks, it will build up, and it could possibly either crack your jar or just basically explode, because it's high pressure inside that jar and that it can't escape. So just make sure your lid is loose if it doesn't have a vent. If you have the burping ones, or the fermentation lids or mason tops or something like that, and those are used for fermentation, then you can put those on tight and that'll be fine. They burp their own cells. So this is going to go in my pantry. I'm going to set it on the jar in a dark corner. It stays cool in there because it's in the house, and it's going to stay in the corner in a dark place for about 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to check it on it at about 4 weeks, see how it's doing, and it may go 6, maybe even 8 weeks, as long as there's no mold on it. White mold is good, black mold is bad. And if you happen to see white mold start to form, you can take a spoon and scrape that off, as long as it's no black mold. If it's black mold, you got to start it over. You got to throw all of it out, and hopefully you don't start another batch. So with this, it's fixing to be put in the pantry, and I'll do a follow-up on it, just so you guys can see if you're doing anything like this. You can kind of see the process of where it's at, what it should be looking like. And this is going to get dark. It's going to get real dark because of the oxidation that's going on inside of it, and the fermentation. It's just going to get darker, because the darker it gets, the more rich nutrients it's going to be. So I'm hoping for a dark color out of this one. And hopefully you guys will follow along with us. And if you've never tried this before, I encourage you to try it this year. Go get you some apples even at the store, and just try you a little batch. Just eat your apple, take the cores, and put them in here. You don't have to have the peelings or anything. You can just do it with the cores. And start you a little jar of apple cider vinegar and see if you like it. See how easy it's going to be. So until next time, guys, thank you for stopping by and joining me in the kitchen, and we will see you next time. Bye.